Doing a restoration project, painting a car or car parts, one key element is having clean, dry air with no moisture. And I saw some videos and I thought that this was a nice design that would benefit me. And I thought that there was something that I can try for the first time. And those are some of the tools, which is a pipe cutting tool, deburring tool, wire brush, flux, the flux core, and brushes for the flux core, and Map Pro propane, and a torch. And there's an overall view of the items, and then the fittings that I had to buy, and the ball valves and the clamps, and 10-foot 3/4 inch copper tubing, and everything was 3/4, and with fittings that reduced down to 1/2 inch to 3/8 to 1/4 inch. And I pre-cut everything, and it's going to be going on this board permanently, although the board is going to be able to be somewhat portable between my back carport or my front garage, depending on what location that I'm going to be working at. But I pre-fit everything, and to just get an idea, to make sure that everything was going to fit on the board, that it was going to be secured on, and that I had enough material, and that I wouldn't run into any hidden surprises later on in the project. A lot of this is very repetitious, but one of the key elements that I discovered on this soldering is every edge of the pipe was a fresh cut, and every piece that was going to be soldered or brazed had to be cleaned, deburred with the tool and a wire brush, tool kit, and also some emery cloth. Now, keep in mind, I'm not a professional at this. I do it for fun, and safety is number one. And if you are not mechanically inclined, I would not recommend doing a project like this. The important thing to remember is the propane that you're working with. That's a torch, and you got to pay attention to your surroundings and make sure you're in a safe location to do that kind of work with the torch, and you got to protect yourself from getting burned and stuff like that. This project ended up to be a little bit higher cost-wise than what I was expecting to pay, but due to the air filtration system that I chose, and inflation on materials, etc., $1,000 is what I ended up paying. If somebody already has these tools, they can save money there. And if somebody is good on plumbing skills and maybe knows certain fittings to go by, instead of having to use multiple fittings, because the fittings are very expensive. Okay, so moving along, working in sections, getting everything ready for the soldering. I got the propane, flux, and try to keep my area clean. And you add the flux. You don't want to add too much, but you want to coat the pipe and the inside of the fitting that pipe is going to slide into. And so I did that to all of the fittings, made sure that they were pushed in there all the way, and you shouldn't have to struggle, and those pipes should go in fairly easy. And sometimes the fitting could be damaged from shipping or something from the factory, and at that point you just have to just replace the fitting. And so along with this brazing, the soldering for a 3/4 inch pipe, you're gonna want to use about 3/4 inch of solder to fully seal, and the torch is gonna get that copper hot. And I put the torch at the bottom, and I put the solder from the top, and once it gets hot enough, that solder is just going to melt so fast, and it's going to suck up into the inside of that pipe, and it's going to fully seal. And I may have put too much because at the bottom I could see a drip of solder, but it did look like it was getting a fully sealed sweat weld. At times it seemed never ending and repetitious when I go on to the next phase of this project. But putting in this much money into a project like this, and you just don't want to miss any steps, and you just got to follow the basic steps and to make sure that everything is absolutely sealed. One keynote on this project here is I got 4-foot strips of 2x4 lumber, a total of 3, and I bolted them down to the 4x8 paneling, and the copper tube lines rested on top of that, so it was elevated on top, and it bolted on to the 2x4s, and that left space enough to have clearance to remove cartridges, etc., on the air filtration system that was going to be added to this project. When you're completed your sweat welding on the areas that you're working on, and you can grab a hold of that metal or that copper with a glove, be sure to clean your work that you've sweat welded with a clean rag, and any residue or anything, be sure to get all that clean. Coming into the final sweat welding, etc., on this lower end where my valves go on and stuff, multiple times I would disconnect everything that's not soldered, make sure that my measurements were correct, and just to make sure that that there's no hidden surprises at the end where I have to redo something. Everything went as planned, so to speak. I kind of drew everything out on a piece of paper of what I was trying to create. Some things didn't go as planned. Like upon the completion, my air filtration system went a little bit past my 4x8 board, but it was still able to secure onto the panel, and I can make modifications, to accommodate that. But overall, just take your time and make sure your valves are all in the proper direction, all consistent. Your ball valves that are going to release the moisture at the bottom, and you want to not to over tighten them, and you don't want to break the sweat weld that you've created, and just take extra precautions, on your installation of your fittings and stuff like that. The air filtration system, I did get that from Amazon, the 2 air filtration kits, and also the 5 10-foot sticks of copper. I had 1 foot left over, so it's going to be traveling through 49 feet up and down of this copper with 4 ball valves at the bottom, and then it's going to hit the air filtration system. So hopefully this resolves my problem with eliminating moisture by the time it hits my spray gun when I'm doing a car project. And I'll keep you guys posted on how this goes, and hopefully this helps somebody. And I only did this video to kind of just show the technique, although there's several videos out there, similar designs, and maybe somebody gets a little something off of this one along with other videos you watch, and you can have a successful project and have some nice clean paint jobs. And we tested the unit, hooked it up to the air compressor, and we had a successful airtight system, and overall happy with the completed project. Here you see the 2x4s with the copper on top of the 2x4s. I clipped the 2x4 right there to allow room for the air filtration system, and I'm gonna hook up a union at that point right there to my air filtrations to make my air filtration removable, and then be sure your ball valves are all in the same direction, so all your valves open and close in the same direction. Be sure not to over tighten them. I kind of struggled on that first one. I went one circle a little bit too far, but I was able to manage to get it on there without breaking the sweat weld. And I was more careful on the next ones, but I just learned how to not over tighten it, and hooking up my air filtration here. And there's the 1/2 inch union, which is removable, which makes it easy to remove the air filtration device if I need to take it off for any kind of maintenance or replacement. And it reduces down to 3/8 that goes into the air filter there. And I just test fit everything to make sure everything was going to connect properly. And then I disassembled everything, and then I added Teflon tape. You got to be careful not adding too much Teflon tape, doing your Teflon tape correct on your threaded fittings, because you don't want that to get into your airline, and then that could be a disaster if it gets into your spray gun while you're doing a paint job. And here's where I said if somebody's experienced on plumbing skills, they may have a technique to reduce the amount of fittings used, because the fittings were very expensive. And this was just what I was able to find over the counter, Home Depot, Lowe's. And I did get a couple of the fittings from Amazon. And I ended up with a couple of fittings left over that I'm going to return that I didn't need to use. But overall, I ended up using pretty much everything I bought just by, making a diagram and a list of what I needed to purchase. And here it is on the wall, all anchored. I add the desiccant into the first air filtration system, and attach that, and elevating it on the 2x4s, keeping it off of the 4x8 panel allows my cartridges to slide on easy. And here I am testing it out with the 220 Husky air compressor, pumping the unit, the drying system, with air, and no leaks. And that's what we're going for. Testing the valves, they're releasing air fine, opening and closing easy. No moisture came out, but I'm sure once I start running that air compressor, for a long duration of time, those valves there, especially the first two, those are going to be, pushing out some moisture. Gravity's going to drop the moisture all the way down to the bottom, and then I'll be able to release it. And by the time it hits this air filtration, air drying system, there shouldn't be any moisture, and that's the last pass through that'll trap any moisture. And then from there, when it hits my gun, I'll be having nice, clean, dry air. Thanks for watching.